He gets one high in the air. Left field, this one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The RailCats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the RailCats Talk podcast. He's Chuck Polarek. I'm Kyle Svetich. Chuck, how was your week of RailCats baseball?
RailCats baseball. Wow. Well, we had a streak going, streak of three. Not bad, right?
Yeah, and previous to that, we had a streak of 10 of losing end,
On
but
the other side, right? So it was it's been good. Baseball's been good, right? How about you?
yeah, I would say they went right now they're 28 and 52. They went 3-3 on the week, which is something that we're not used to because we were on a 10-game losing streak. They lost two to Fargo, and then they came home and beat Kane County two times, which was kind of surprising. But it seems like that Kane County, them playing Kane County has always kind of been a weird feat between the two because getting into that is we lost 11 straight series before beating Kane County, and the last team we beat at home for a series was Kane County. So it just kind of all ravels itself in together, which is a little bit ironic to me in that sense. So that the last winning series we had was in June 25th to June 27th. That's the stats. That's not how long it's been. It's over obviously over a month, but close to a month and a half of not winning a series. Um, a lot of news going on. Railcat signed outfielder Anthony Abatini. He is from St. Petersburg University, New Jersey. He's 25. And then Kenny Lavari, an infielder from Old Dominion, who's 22. Marcos Gonzalez was reactivated off the inactive list. Jackson Valera and Nick Pizzetta was released on the 9th, but officially put out the 10th. And then Howard Rodriguez was released on the 10th, official the 11th. Um, Looking at the player transactions, we've seen Kenny play. No, we've seen Anthony play, not Kenny.
Right.
I haven't seen him play, but you have. How do you feel about this new uh, acquisition?
I think it's a good one. Uh, he's he's fresh to professional baseball, and because of that, he's going to need some at bats. I think Lamar bringing him in at the end of the season here, uh, it's a good look for starting next year. Let's see what he has. And I think that's what Lamar's kind of looking at right now is you release a guy like Jackson. I think that frees up a lot of money,
Hmm.
frees up a spot. You're looking to bring in some new guys that are rookie guys looking for some diamonds and looking to see what you can accomplish. Um, Looking towards next year. We also got that new pitcher, Ethan.
Yep.
That guy is solid. I'll tell you, watching him pitch the one inning and then watching him pitch the three innings, that guy can locate a fastball.
Yeah.
And it feels good to see these guys throwing hard and locating, not just throwing hard and not just locating, but throwing hard and locating at the same time. And so, real nice guy. Got to talk to him for a few minutes when he comes out the first base line, and he said he loves it here. So that's a plus. I did get to meet Anthony's dad. He was strolling around the ballpark, and he's excited to be here too. So uh, it's 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 a change. Um, I'll be the first one to say Jackson was one of my favorite players on the team. I love the fact that he was always smiling, always joking,
Hmm.
and just kind of helped you enjoy the game, even when times were a little rough. And so, he's definitely going to be missed, uh, but it's the end of the season, you
Yeah.
know, and I get it. I understand. Um, Other than that, we got some fresh guys, and we win two games,
Yeah.
you know. So it's all right. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into context with Ethan, at least right now, he's pitched 4 innings. He has 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, and hasn't given up a hit or a run. That's a big positive, something that we've obviously missed throughout. I mean, I think what he had the one start last time. I know it was probably a bullpen day, but to see him come out and pitch three scoreless innings, and I think he may have given up. I don't have that game pulled up, but yeah, he must have given up one because at the first appearance he had the three straight strikeouts or three straight outs in that instance. So that's good to see from him. Looking at Anthony, just kind of giving a quick glimpse of his college. Uh, he had a batting average of 273. That was out of 333 plate appearances at bats, slugging 371, OPS of 727. Looking at Kenny, he from Old Dominion, uh, looking at an average of 285 and an OPS of 811. So, I mean, we're looking at decent college players that may have got skipped over in the draft, just because with the restrictions and the cutbacks of what MLB has been doing, the draft isn't as big as it has been in years past. I don't think you have the 25 something odd rounds. I think I forget what it rounds itself out to, but a lot of these guys are someone that might have been passed over that doesn't get a chance to get an affiliate ball just because the rounds aren't that long. Not saying these players aren't going to be good players. It's just one of those instances where they just got passed over. Um, I think looking at the and the kicker to the Howard and Nick Pinzetta releases is more than likely they'll be back for the Winnipeg series. I don't think Nick may have got his full share of potential being able to play. So I mean that one kind of seemed a little bit odd. I thought Howard was a good backup piece, a piece that you could slot in somewhere. I understand that you want to start bringing new guys in, and it seemed like the Anthony guy was a someone that Lamarr wanted to bring in sooner in the year, but he had that back injury that you were telling me about, and that kind of delayed that instance. So I mean, I can understand a little bit of, but it just seems like you give the people the cookies that have when you give them the opportunity, they have been producing. It may not be the like eye-popping numbers, but yet again, this team hasn't had eye-popping numbers. So a young guy that's working itself through, it seems a little odd to release those guys for a week and a half and then bring them back.
Yeah, I think that the thought here is I'm not going to tie up a roster spot right now for you guys. But I see you at the RailCats next year. I think that's the thinking there. And here's the deal, right? I mean, these guys, um, they don't have a lot of eyeballs on them, and they're showing that they're team players. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Just like every once in a while, you'll see somebody go on the injured reserve because they need to bring somebody in or something like that. And, maybe they're injured, but it's not necessarily something that needs to take them out, right? And they'll ride on the injured reserve for a little bit. And then, when they release somebody or whatever, or somebody else gets hurt, they bump them in. So they're just showing they're a team player. And that's what I like about it. So that's kind of the way I look at it is they're going to be back. Um, they, hey, and if they're not, sorry, Lamar, if they go somewhere else,
Yeah.
somebody else,
No, granted,
so want what's best for them. But I feel very confident that they'll be back for the Winnipeg series and might be here till the end of the season. So
yeah.
that's all 4 games after that, right?
With 4 games and against Chicago at home. It's just one of those. I know he's had a down year this year, but I think this would have been an interesting one to pull, maybe from King County is Weston Murr. I know we kind of talked about him. We were chatting before this about him. He was at the beginning of the year in the past couple of years has been a RailCats killer. There was something about him that they just couldn't do anything. And in the last like 2 outings he was just off, just not very good. I mean, when you just look at his uh last 2 seasons, he had an ERA of 377 and 351, and now he's up to a 572. He's had some really bad outings. Like in a row. Maybe that's a case of like a change of scenery where, you're getting a good pitcher. He may not be doing so well this year. He needs to go somewhere else. Would you look at maybe a potential Chris Irwin who has who has potential and is going to go to a playoff? Like we're just talking about like intermediate changes there that someone you could bring back that would be a piece instead of um he's going to walk and he's going to go on his merry way. I know it's like I said, we kind of got in this discussion last week about, you got the different player rules of that they're basically free agents. The other leagues, they're just not free agents inside of the American Association. So he could walk away and go to the Frontier League or the Atlantic League or where he wants to go, but that's still an option.
Right.
I think that's the kind of deals that I would be more expecting. I don't mind I don't mind taking chances on these college kids because this is a good taste for them to get into professional baseball, and this is something you could find a diamond in the rough and kind of help build the program a little bit as far as, hey, we have our identity is going to be finding these kids in the college ranks, bring them in, and then maybe pulling some veterans from, elsewhere outside of the country or affiliate ball to kind of honed in some of those players to
Yeah.
kind of get their confidence going a little bit. So I think I think that's what it could be a nice mixture, but I don't know how that's all going to play out. I mean, it depends on how some of these players roll themselves around. With
Yeah.
that being said, do you see more of a turnover potentially from this team going forward, or you feel like it's just going to kind of like ride itself out, and then next year we kind of figure out what's
Um,
going on?
so I'll be interested to see um what happens at the end of the season because you are going to have a handful of players that are going to wind up being inactive for Canada. You're going to bring in some guys just like they had done. Um, I think this is a good opportunity for the new guys. I'm sure that they, could probably go over and play in Canada. Hopefully, that's something that Lamar said, hey, make sure you can play in Canada, what have you. Um, so, maybe we see a little bit different style of a team, maybe something a little bit closer to what next year is going to look like. I don't know. Uh, I don't I don't know that I see a bunch more turnover. Um, these guys are getting tired. You might see you might see something. I don't know. It's hard to judge. It's the end of the year,
Yeah.
and Jackson was getting up there in age, so he was the oldest guy on the team, and you don't know necessarily if he's going to play again next year. So, you're tying up the money. Um, you could bring in a guy like Mir, but I'm sure that he's going to probably ask for Jackson money.
Yeah.
So now it's a wash, and you don't really have the funds to spend on these rookie guys. So I don't know. It's hard to tell without seeing the numbers or without seeing. We can speculate all day long, but I would say this: if and I said this on Friday and Saturday, as Chris Irwin was coming over, I'm like, dude, do you have a time machine? As time over it, do you have a time machine? If we could take this team the way we're playing right now and move it back to May,
Yeah.
oh, that would be sweet. Because this team's playing very well together. There are some changes that need to be made, some tweaks, if you will, and we kind of go from there.
So I don't remember if we talked about this in the podcast. I think we talked about it after the interview with Josh Smith, which I'm still editing and getting together. So this is probably going to come out. I don't know. I don't know which one's going to come out first. It's either going to be this podcast or the Josh Smith one. I'm not sure. I had a busy weekend. But I asked the question is do we put Lamar on the hot seat?
No, no, I don't think so. Um, it sucks to be a RailCats fan and to lose like this, but I think we need to have confidence in the system. And we can see, the guys that go to these games every once in a while, and they don't pay much attention to. They see, oh, they lost 10-3 or 13-2 or something like that. Oh, this team must suck. Or they look at the record and they say, oh yeah, this record, these guys must suck. They don't know RailCats because these guys don't suck. Their record isn't showing it, but I
Mhm.
mean, these guys when they play and they're on, they could beat anybody in the league, handily beat anybody in the
Yeah.
league. So, you know, Lamar's put a team together. It's the question is what's the holdup? What's keeping them from being what they show,
Mhm.
right? And I think it's you know it's like starting an engine. You got to
Yeah.
have the right amount of air and the right amount of spark and the right amount of gas, right? And right now we're trying to figure out what that is. So I can see some tweaks, but Lamar's he gets it. We talked about that
Yeah.
last. Lamar gets it. He knows what this is about. So uh, and I think he's got a good relationship with the guys. Um, so yeah, I think he's tweaking some things, but we're good.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, what most people don't understand is the best way to describe this job or being a manager in the American Association right now is you're a college coach recruiting players. And just imagine like all these players that are trying to get spots, whatever the case may be, but they just don't know about it yet. You know, there's some people that still don't know about independent baseball. Some people may just know about the Atlantic League because that's just a bigger league and they can't get anywhere else. So it's just like the building I can't speak, building that profile and portfolio of the people you want to bring in and starting to bring those connections. I mean, that's one of those where this year I felt like he was talking when I had a conversation with him when I interviewed him, he was talking about finally building those connections and like Carlos Sanabria had no idea that he was managing until he picked up Miguel Sierra and it just beside like it just kind of all raveled itself in together and I just think the more that he builds his team and tries to plug and play a little bit, I think he'll eventually figure it out. I don't think that's an issue of him figuring. I don't think he's a terrible manager. I don't think he has horrible managing skills. Is there sometimes that things are questionable? Yeah, but we all do questionable things in our life in general, so his just gets a little bit more amplified, you
Well,
know.
I think you have to look at it this way. There's a difference between being a minor league coach and being an
Hmm.
American Association coach. Here's the big difference. A lot of times, I'm going to say 100% of the time, if you're at a lower ranked minor league manager, you're not picking your players.
Hmm.
These are the players you have. This is what we want you to get out of them. This is how we want you to do it. Win, right?
Yeah.
And this came from you know one of the players I was talking to, and he said that his coach had told him, "I don't care what your batting average is. I want you being selective about the pitches."
Hmm.
And he said, "Hey, I'm going to play the way that I'm playing. I'm getting, I'm batting high, And then they released him, and he's like, "How could you release me?" He says, "Well, because we told you what we wanted you to do. We want you to be a more selective hitter, right?" And something like that, when you're a minor league coach, those are the things that they're talking to you about. Those are the
Hmm.
things they're asking you to do. Um, American Association's not like that. We're not telling you, hey, we want you to be more selective. We're telling you go out there and do your best. We want to win. And also these players aren't being handed to you.
Yeah.
You have to go find them. Right. So it is a lot more complex job. Being a manager in a new area, a new team, a new league. There's a reason why we had three manager swaps throughout the league,
Hmm.
right? And they were managers that are already been managing.
Yep.
There's a reason, right? There's probably better qualified people out there to take one of the spots. Okay. But this guy has experience and we want to win now, even if he's maybe not a good manager or not the best manager. He's got the experience so we can win. Um, so we have to take that into account. You
Yeah.
know, he's new, and hey, if it takes them 3 seasons, then it takes him 3 seasons. But I'll tell you what, with Lamar, if he got released, or if they decided not to go with him, another team's going to pick him up.
Yeah. I,
He's got a future in this league. We're in
I,
this.
I mean, I see it. I think like you said, the biggest challenge is just building yourself a team. I think in the eyes of the RailCats fans, the people looking on the outside and looking in, it's one, you released, or well, he didn't release. He got a different job of Greg Taggart, who uh, basically built the RailCats into what they were at one point and sustained it for a while. But realistically speaking, towards the end, he wasn't doing anything special with the team either. And Lamar had to pick up the pieces, and he came from a minor league organization. Not he had independent baseball experience with St. Paul as a hitting coach, but that's completely different than being the actual manager. So when you're talking about building a story and building a system, it takes a minute for that system to get into place. And yes, is the record reflecting what the work he's putting in? No. Are we going backwards? Yes, because we are. I mean, I don't think we're going to have the record we had last year, which is I can't remember right off the top of my head, but we're not going to have as many wins. We're going to have more losses. But the team on paper seemed a lot better than what it was. And I think that's something to take away from the years past, because the years past it was like I, I don't I don't know exactly what we're getting out of these players. I mean, this year I guess the biggest question mark was the starting rotation. That was the biggest question mark. And I still think that's still the biggest question mark.
I thought at the beginning of the year, the starting rotation before we started playing was like, wow, this is going to be good. And then we didn't start off.
Yeah, we
So
didn't. I mean, it doesn't help that when you really look at the two biggest players that we didn't get this year was Edward Cuello and Jesus Mariaga. Like
right.
the Edward coming was basically the ace of the staff the past 2 years, but realistically it should have been Chris Irwin. And but with his injury, like it took him a while to get back into place. So it was just like on paper things look good, but just coming out of the starting blocks it faltered and it just kind of raveled itself into what it is today.
And I'll couple it with this. You got guys that have had surgeries or injuries
Hmm.
or what have you, right? And I mean, these guys report like, I don't know, a week before the season
Hmm.
starts.
Yeah.
And so, do you really have the time to vet these guys to make sure, hey, this guy can throw strikes, that his surgery went well, or that his, injury is healed? This guy can be consistent. How long can we have this guy pitch for?
Hmm.
All of these are all unknowns. So you've got to go all based off of what's on the paper, right? And when we look at those numbers, these guys look good.
Yeah.
And then we find out, oh, it's going to take a little bit longer for a Sanabria to start throwing some strikes, or maybe he's having some issues with some stuff, or Franklin Perez.
Hmm.
These guys, maybe they're struggling a little bit with this or that, or maybe, hey, it wasn't the right time to put him out there and have him throw 6 innings, or there's so many unknowns, right? It's like, okay, we don't know where these guys are at. We just
Yeah.
have the big question is, do we have managing staff that we can trust are making the right decisions? That's what it comes down to. I feel as though we do. Um, and so when you put all of that together, uh, you have to trust the process.
Yeah.
That's it. You have to trust the process.
No, I think the one thing this could go two ways. We could look at this as two ways. I think what we lack in the managerial side of things is that independent baseball management experience.
Yep.
You have a manager who has been a hitting coach in independent baseball and has been a manager in the minor leagues, but then you have a hitting coach that was through major league organizations, a pitching coach that was with the Atlanta Braves at one point in his career, teaching the upper echelon pitchers of the league. Is it one of those situations where I think we need to bring someone in the coaching staff that has more of that independent baseball experience? Or is it reaching out to a college for an internship of a guy that likes analytics and numbers and can build a baseball operations part of the team, because that way it kind of helps. One, you have someone that's scouting maybe different leagues, colleges, draft leagues, whatever the case may be, and he's pulling the numbers, he's running the numbers, and it's easier to go to Lamarr and say, hey, listen, this isn't working out because of example ABC, and we should do what we want with this guy because of said example here.
I will do
And
that job for Lamar.
but just being able to cut out I feel like this year the big falter with this team is the human connection side of it. I think last year and the year before it was so easy for him to overturn the team because he had no personal connections with these players. And, granted, we had personal as fans had the connection of a Woodworth or a Sheiks, a Lingua and or Olin. I still to this day am highly pissed off that we got rid of Olin. I, that's for
I'll
another
send
discussion.
I'll send you the picture to put in the thing, in the video when you're done with this. All right.
Okay, but I'm just saying. But this year it's okay. Sanabria went through with him. Miguel went through with him. I just feel like, and he's giving players these chances because of arm injuries or whatever the case may be. He wants to see this through, so he's not turning it over as much because of those connections. So I think just having an outside party that's going to lead away from that personal connection is like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, but this is what we're going to have to do because of these examples. Is it going to happen? Maybe that's something we'll have to wait out and see.
Right.
But I think that's the one thing that we might lack a little bit in that is that experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were actually just saying the other day that uh, Lamar has his guys, and who are his guys? You got my picture?
Yeah, I like it. That's good. I may use that one. Just
You
yeah.
should. I said
I
put it
I'm
right there.
I'm gonna yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be the thumbnail of the picture.
Okay. Uh,
So
so we Lamar has his guys, and he's going to give his guys a lot more rope. And he trusts his guys. And I get that. You have to have a core group, and you build around that core group. I just hope that uh, the people I think should be in that core group or stay in that core. You know,
yeah.
um, that's the thing, and I think they will. I think they will. Be honest with you, a guy like Gio, he needs to be on this team.
Hmm.
He you don't have a RailCats team without him. We're not nearly as successful this year if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Uh, a guy like that, he needs to be one of those that's one of your building blocks. Um, I would say that even uh boy, um, you know, oh, that's a tough one. I like Rincon. I
Yeah.
think that Rincon is one of those guys that, hey, he's got some years of baseball, and he could be one of those building blocks. This new guy, Ethan, um, I can't remember who said it to me, but I was told that he basically said if he were to get picked up in affiliate ball, he would not leave the RailCats unless it was AAA.
Hmm.
Uh, and when I asked him yesterday, how you liking it, he looked at me and his eyes got big and he says, "I love this place." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
great." So, and even Lamar said, "You're gonna like this guy. You're gonna like this guy when he comes out there." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Watch him." And sure enough, I mean, the guy's good. So it's funny because we can make all of these other thoughts, all these other judgments. But then I talked to Lamar for a minute, And it's like he sees it.
Yeah.
He sees it. He knows. He knows what, you know, people are gonna like. He knows. He knows that this is the guy, and so you're like, okay, I get it. I get it,
Yeah. Yeah. I like I said, uh, just talking to Lamarr and getting to know him a little bit better. Like we said, he understands the situation. He understands that things can look good on paper and it may not work out that way. But then we also got to remember this isn't playing MLB The Show. This isn't playing Madden. You can't just cut guys, bring guys on, and go on your merry way because
You can't
you
change the name unless it's Johnny Turbo, and you can't change the stat.
yeah
Right?
you you're not you're playing with people's livelihoods at one point, but then it's just because one guy's not producing right now, it doesn't mean he's not producing later on, which realistically we're getting with Miguel Sierra right now. I mean, he passed Rincon in home runs. I mean, granted, Rincon was hurt for a while, but Miguel's been on a tear lately,
And Miguel was out for a while.
and he was out. And he was one of the guys where, to be honest, you and I are both kind of like, I don't know about why he's hanging around because at the time you brought in Howard, he was doing decent and he was producing at a level that we were expecting, and we said, all right, we have the infield. He seemed to be playing a better, shortstop. And then Miguel comes in. It's just like, just take that and throw that all out the window because I'm gonna hit bombs and I'm gonna play defense.
Right. And so I was thinking about this today also. We got like, remember the Sam Abbott thing that I said a while ago?
Yeah,
Where Sammy would hit a home run every six at bats
yep,
and strike out, four and ground out twice, right? And boy, I love Sammy. And hey, uh, I look at that with our team. I'm like, these guys can hit bombs and strike out a few times and ground out a few times and then hit bombs.
yeah.
You know, it's
I
common.
mean, but the thing really about Miguel that I guess I really haven't put my eye on quite yet when I bring it over, um, let's see if it shows me the on base percentage. So he is just below uh Contreras on base percentage at 325. So, and you look at leading the team is Gonzalez and then Rincon, Basabe, Contreras, and then it's Sierra. So it's just one of those like he's getting on base. He's not a strikeout home run. He's gonna get on base.
Right.
I think that's if that's something that we could see that he did early or on in his career, we have a better shot with him. And maybe it's just about giving him his time and maybe feeling comfortable. Maybe he had that nagging injury that was nagging himself, and now he's back to fully, he just seems like a different player than what
Yeah.
we saw at the beginning of the year. That could just be the frost over my eyes at the moment because he's doing so well and he's continuing
I,
to hit
I
well.
think that one of the things Lamar sees is he pays a lot into potential.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily what you're doing right now. It's what's your potential and how close am I to reaching that, right? How easy is it for me to reach that? And I think that's what he sees in Sierra. He
Yeah.
sees potential, right? And then as you start to get these little glimpses of awesomeness, I'll say, it's you start feeling better and better about it because you're like, okay, we're getting a little bit closer to this potential. And could you find a better shortstop out there? Probably not. It would be rare, I think. There's not tons of Josh Altmans out there. And, you know, so it's it's hard. A lot of these guys, just the potential's there. They sprout up. You have a great game. Consistency is what we're missing.
Yeah. No, and just he so he has blown out his home run in a year. Talking about Sierra. Last year he hit one only in 9 games with Gary. He hit 4 and 78 with Sioux City last year, and in 22 he hit 2 in 13 games. In 55 games, he's already hit 12. I mean, the power numbers are there. This is probably his better average season, uh, with playing over 50 games because in 2023 with Sioux City he batted at 203 and right now he's at 229. Granted, I understand that you can take the batting average with a grain of salt because the slugging and the OPS is in the 800s. So that most times you give numbers to an analytic guy, he's going to tell you, yeah, the OPS is worth the average because he's when he hits the ball, he's hitting the ball far, but he's also getting on base.
Right.
His average may not show necessarily, but at least he's doing said this example here. I get it to a certain extent, but you and I are both kind of old in the habit of average is what we like to look at because average tells you how many times he's hitting the ball itself. Not where it's going, but where he's hitting it and what kind of how
Right.
he's doing it.
Right.
Slugging, you look at slugging as how he's doing it, but averages is he's hitting the ball consistently. So, like I said, would you rather take a guy that's batting 1,000 and has a bunch of singles, or a guy that'll hit a home run every 5 at bats? I don't,
You
however
get
you want to.
9 guys that'll hit a single every time up at bat, and I win every game.
Yeah, but that's nor here nor there on that situation. So, this kind of leads it into kind of getting out of maybe obviously we can still talk a little bit of baseball, but this kind of leads out of this just more into like we've been on a roll of like different ideas coming about the
Well,
team.
hold on. I want to say this.
Okay.
Today, I got to, there's players on each team that I
Mhm.
like. And today, I got to see Gally Cribbs Jr. hit a home run and then a grand slam. A guy who only had 3 home runs going, and he does that while his son and his wife are in the stands. I just wanted to say, it was great seeing a guy like that hit
Oh yeah,
like
no, I'm not.
situation. Sucks that the RailCats lost, but that being said, you love to see these guys, and you won't find. I'd be hard pressed to find a nicer guy than Gally.
Yeah,
You love to see these guys that are good guys succeed, and that was good today.
yeah.
Very great
Okay.
idea.
What this is spinning into is I know I tweeted out Thursday that I took a job with PBS, which is Public Shore Lakeshore Public Radio or Lakeshore Public Media. They do for people that really watch football, like high school football, they do the PFR and they have the game night. I'll be a part of like the production crew of that. So what this is leading into is you mentioned to me when I was out at the beach with my nieces that PBS was there, and you said, "Oh, they're trying to get him on the podcast."
Right.
This is something that I brought up earlier on in the season because we're starting to see more teams do it. Kansas City's done it. I think Lake Country's done it, or Milwaukee. I can't remember. I think Sioux City's starting to do it. Cleburne might. I'm not sure, but they're having some TV networks take over some of the broadcasting, and we're not taking over the broadcasting, but like more of just releasing the broadcast onto their platform so that way you get more eyes on it.
Yeah.
And my first instinct was to have Lakeshore Public Media do it just because they've been a TV station, uh and I think that was just that there's people that have access to it that you normally wouldn't get, the older people that just, want to play that channel on repeat, you get a couple eyes on them like, oh, I don't want to go to Gary, but at least I can watch the Railcast. But like, I just think that the lack of nationalized or regionalized market hasn't been there. And there's different options you can go with this one. You can go with PBS or you could go with a WJOB/WED. I can't remember all their call signs and letters, but they do a lot of PNW broadcasting. They did the semi-state or regionals that were played for baseball at the stadium at the Steel Yard, and so they stream a bunch of that stuff. So it's one of those another idea to pitch to Anthony or whoever may listen, having another platform for someone to watch the team on versus just
I think we need to put that on the Joe plate. If
mm,
the interview with Joe comes to
yep.
fruition, that we can ask Joe a question like that. Now, I was looking from a standpoint of us that we
Yes, I
had podcast played on that channel on a regular basis. I think that would be really cool.
so
But
that would turn it into a podcast, into an actual show. There's
right,
the two different, but yes,
right.
yeah.
But we would do this, but it would be on TV and you could have it online.
See,
So
like
it would
the
be
like the
two for
Pat McAfee show,
right,
something like
exactly.
that.
So we could do that. Um, the question is, how would we go about doing that? So I guess anybody that's watching this that has connections with PBS or anything like that that wants to have something cool, him, that guy right there, you, give me the information, and I'll let you, Kyle, the guy who doesn't know the information, make the contacts with that guy with his hand up. There you go. We got it. Got it covered.
Let me do some good work. You see, I gotta establish myself first, right? And
Oh no,
then
no,
you
no.
pitch the
Now we're
idea.
on. Now the season's over with.
I we'll
Okay,
get through this.
prepare for.
If I don't do a terrible job and I don't get fired, then that's a question that I'll
All right, all right. Let's make that happen. See, I think this is good programming right here. All those kids out there watching this, I think that you guys are going to learn a lot.
I would that would be nice to take it a step further to that aspect of here you go. You guys can play with it, cut it up however you want. We make it an
Right.
hour long show or and call it a day. So that would be interesting. But I'm just saying for the aspect of the RailCats having, even streaming it on Facebook. I
Yeah.
I just think there are still people on Facebook that would be interested in watching it or even putting on you. Like I just think the more we are in an age to where the more you're able to put it on different platforms, the more eyes you're going to be able to get to watch.
That's
So
true.
just limiting yourself to just an app that you're going to have that people are going to have to sign up for. You're going to get someone that's going to accidentally screw something up and pay for something they don't want to pay. Like I grant I get it's free, but if it's free, send it to anything. Send it to Facebook. Send it to that's
Right.
just extra eyes on it because that's when you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting. Because you know who does that stuff? The Savannah Bananas. They may stream it after the game's over with, but guess what? It's on YouTube Live, so you can watch their games,
I
and they sell out every crowd. Like,
I just want to make sure, going back to us being on there, I sent this message to you, and I just want to make sure that everybody can read that. All right. Where I said this is our pitch line. Okay, our pitch line is, "Hey, buddy, we have this podcast that is popping. We're up to 7 regular viewers, and I think the next step is public access TV. Let's make it happen." All right, so I've said it. I've messaged it to you. Okay, so you have no excuse to not go in there and tell them, "Hey, this is what we need to
and
do."
and what was my response?
Uh,
And what was my response?
uh,
They'll probably tell you to fly a kite.
no, they wouldn't tell us to fly a kite. It's out of season.
Oh, 7 years, like, all right, get it? That no, sorry, we're not doing this. We're gonna run the same channel, our same show on repeat.
Right.
You get
This is how Tom Green started. You might be too young to know who Tom Green is.
he sounds familiar.
Yeah, Tom Green started on public TV doing something stupid like this. Not to say this is stupid, but something that's out of the ordinary that not everybody would be interested in. And next thing you know, he's doing movies. So, and he had his own show on Comedy Network, I think.
Well, hey, it's worth a shot, Maybe I'll bring it to Tom and say, hey, even at that, maybe you just put it on the radio station. Like it doesn't have to be on TV. Like it can just be on the
I
radio
have
station. And taking it a little too far, which is I'm kind of upset that we left the game early. But on Saturday, if you happen to watch the White Sox and Cubs play, the fine gentleman that jumped out the left field wall and broke his leg. Let's not do that, okay? Can we just be civil human beings and
you know why
stop
you
running
know
on the
why they
field?
did that
No, I don't know why I did that.
because like right before that, the day before, somebody jumped out of the outfield, and I don't know what game it was, but they jumped out and they were running, and a security guy speared him and took him down. And so now that's the thing, is to jump over the fence in the outfield,
Well, I mean
run from security.
that's always but that's always the thrill of it. Like I get jumping, but my thing is you're I forget the commentator who I don't think it was the Cubs broadcast. He mentioned he was like, okay, you have mid-20s athletes jumping up these professional athletes jumping up these walls catching this ball. You are an unathletic adult jumping off the wall.
Right.
Like, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more times than not, but it was funny because we're walking out of the stadium and we hear a big cheer going on. I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And then I think her mother called my wife and she's like, yeah, you see the guy that jumped off? They're like, no, we left. And
Two,
that was that big
two
cheer. It
people.
was,
Yeah, it was two people. One jumped and
yeah,
was fine.
one jump and
Then
then,
everybody jumps and breaks his leg. Not only does he get arrested, he has to go to the emergency room. You know, I mean, come on, guys. But hey, this is, it's baseball. It makes you do crazy things.
yeah, I just, I don't necessarily get it. But so looking ahead to the rest of the week is
Cleburne.
the Cleburne series. It's nothing but Cleburne and will be nothing but Cleburne because it's Cleburne for six days.
Now,
And
just to recap, last time we faced Cleburne, it was we won one, we lost five, and we gave up 70 runs in 6 games.
like 30 walks in one game. But that's beside the point. That's not here nor there. That I think it was more of like what 23, I think it was 24.
24, 26, 45. I don't know.
Something I don't know. But also on the note, Monday is the last break until the end of the season. It is from here on out, every day will have a RailCats game in it.
Yeah, that's um I was talking to a couple of people about that. It seems like we have had a lot of streaks where we haven't had off days,
Hmm.
and I think that the league needs to change that. Um, there's no reason to really not have a Monday off, except for the holidays,
Yeah.
right? Fourth of July falls on a Monday or something like that, or Memorial Day or whatever day it is. We should play on those days, and doubleheaders are cool. But I mean, give these guys, there's no reason to have them on every Monday, to have these streaks, 13 games in a row. Come on.
Yeah, I don't quite understand. It's the schedule. I get with the 100 games and 12 teams, it kind of it's a weird situation, but it's the matter of like not even taking like the Railcats for example, but taking what was it Chicago and Lake Country only played 2 games against each other. There was only one team that played, or was it Susie? I can't remember, played a team for like 2 games. Instead of three games or 4 games, it was 2 games. And is it one of those, would we rather see a Sunday being a doubleheader game versus playing a 4 game set? You could still play a 4 game set, but the Sunday series would be a doubleheader. That's what
Yeah,
we're running
it all
into.
depends because, like if you look at our original schedule, and it still might be on the Railcats, it said that we were supposed to play last Sunday at Fargo at 7 o'clock
Mhm.
at night, right? We ended up playing them at noon. Okay. And these guys didn't walk in the door until 4:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
Now, if they would have played them at 7, you're not even making it back in time for your game.
Yeah, no, I think that the times are always kind of be janky and a little weird because most of the time, like early on in the season, it's to be decided. And I know early on in the season, me and my wife were talking about going to a King County game, but we weren't sure because American Association had it one time, the King Counties had a different time, and there was one more that there was a different. I'm like, none of it ever is lined up, so we just kind of nicked it and said, all right, whatever the case may be, because I think it was a Saturday game or a Sunday game, and I didn't want to drive through the traffic, so it was just one of those like, yeah, we'll just nix it for later on. And come to find out later in the year, I would go to King County game. But but the thing is like, so they're going to be actually, my bad. They do have a Thursday off. My bad. They have a Thursday off from Winnipeg to Chicago or back home. So they do have one more day off. They do have that Thursday off. It threw me off because normally Mondays are the days that are off. But still, nonetheless, is now you're going basically 2 weeks of playing nothing but everyday baseball, and it's on the road traveling. You're going to go from Gary to Lake Country, which isn't a far drive, but then you go to Milwaukee, and then you go to Winnipeg, then you come back all the way back to play the last series against Chicago. Just something, the schedule this year seems off, and that's throughout the entire league in general.
Schedule is off. So at the beginning of the season, or when they release the schedule, I go through and I look to see who we're facing, when we're facing them, how many times we're facing them. Because
Hmm.
you really hope that at the end of the season, you're facing guys that are in the division. You really hope that at the end of the season, you're facing guys that are going to be vying for that fourth spot or that first spot, right? And so when you look at it, you see, oh, we have a trip to Winnipeg. That doesn't make any sense. Your second to last series is against Winnipeg. Come on. Stuff like that. So, but I noticed that like we didn't go to Sioux City this year,
No.
and they're like Cleburne didn't go to Kansas City, I think is what it was, or Kansas City didn't go to Cleburne, one or the other. And it was like, okay, those are like the closest team
Yeah.
to Cleburne is Kansas City. I think that when you this is one of those things where we speculate, right? We could all be armchair quarterbacks of the schedule, Joe the schedule guy. Um, but when you plug in everything that has to be plugged in, such as can't be at Kansas City this weekend because they have two concerts, can't be at Gary this weekend because they have graduations, can't be at Gary this weekend because they've got high school baseball final championship game, can't be, at Milwaukee this weekend because they've got concerts or, whatever it is, right? So the league has a lot of things that they have to
Yeah.
plug in. Plus, they have to take into consideration that there are, hey, you don't want to have to go from Gary to Winnipeg, back to Gary to Cleburne, back to Gary, so you have to kind of figure out, okay, you're going to go to Oconomowoc and then you're going to go to Winnipeg, right? So you're kind of already going somewhere and you're shortening that turnaround time a little bit, so there's a lot to put into it. Now, that being said, I'm sure that in today's day and age with AI, that you could put all of that stuff in there and tell it, be considerate of these things. We play each team, if you're in the division, 2 times at home or, 6 times at home, 6 times away. Uh, Keep in mind the distance, keep in mind all of these dates, and give me a schedule. And I can almost guarantee that AI would have given us a lot better schedule than we had from
Yeah.
Joe the guy.
I really think the one team that really puts a kink in the system is Cleburne.
Mhm.
I think I would rather see them when they're on the road just play 3 games, like a team here for 3 games, a team there for 3 games, and play all 6 of their home games or all their games at home 6 days in a row. I think that eliminates some of the travel, and some, because when you take an entire week up of scheduling for one team, I think that kind of throws a loop in for some of that stuff. But yet again, it seems like there's a lot more of the tacos and tequilas that are going on special concerts, and like I just feel like there's more of that. I mean, last year you had the issue with the Savannah Bananas and the playoffs with Milwaukee, and were they going to have to forfeit home field advantage and because of
Well, look
all
at
this other stuff.
look at how Chicago worked out this year, right? Chicago goes to Cleburne for
Mhm.
6 games, and then they go to Kansas City. So that is a short distance.
Yeah.
With all the
I,
other.
I'm just I get the aspect of like Cleveland have to play their games at home, all their games, but I just think if they're already on the road, there's no point of eating up an entire that the way you can cycle in. I think you could cycle more around
Yeah, I agree. They
with
did.
that.
Last year was the first year that they did 6 games home, 6 games away.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Years
know
3 games at one place, 3 games at another.
I know last year the guy that does the scheduling did the scheduling for years. I think they brought in a newer guy or something. I think there was a change in the system this year, why it was kind of funky. I remember hearing that at the beginning of the year. Um, but I mean,
They want to blame Joe, the scheduling guy. We're
yeah,
going to call him Joe, the scheduling guy.
Joe, the scheduling guy.
Yeah.
Well, we're almost close to an hour. I know I'll probably cut some of this stuff out, but that's beside the point. What we're looking right now, RailCats are 28 and 52. They are dead last in the East Division, 19 games out of first place, 10 games back from Lake Country.
Let's read.
Huh?
We're not dead last. We're holding up the bottom.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that one. 10 games back from Lake Country, 10 and a half games back from the fourth spot from Milwaukee. Mathematically not still out of it, but we're getting there slowly but surely. I'll have to do the math on that and estimate about the time that we're probably done and over with, or I'll just wait till the American Association says, all right, we're done. The other note is I don't know if most people know, but Graham Nash, his last game announcing with Andrew was on Saturday, or was it Friday? Yeah, I can't. Friday or Saturday? I think it was Saturday. He's going back down to school at IU. His internship's over with. So I know I tweeted out, but I wish the best of luck to him in his journey with broadcasting. I think he has a good voice. I think he had a good connection with Andrew, and I think he'll fill in any role that he has with he just has that voice for broadcasting. So I wish him the best in his journey with that. But Chuck, do you have any final thoughts before I wrap this thing up?
Since you said that, I think that the people that watch this podcast, all 7 of you, need to start a petition to have Kyle step in for Graham Nash for the rest of the season.
That would be wonderful. That's gonna happen.
There we go. Let's make it happen, guys. Put your vote in, right? There you go. That's my final thought.
Chuck, I'm Kyle. That's the RailCats Talk podcast. Be sure to follow on all platforms, social media, that kind of stuff, and enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. And go Cats!
Thanks, guys.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Wrap this one up in green and